Hey, Clay. So my question is, should I open a third business? And so just a little background. I own two boutique training facilities. One is a CrossFit gym. The other is an interval-based training studio. So you think of like Orange Theory, but with more weights. But the third business here is going to be within probably about 10 to 15 minutes of both of my other training studios. This third business is going to be a big box gym. So the big difference, I'm thinking that it's going to approach or it's going to appeal to a different market because my two training facilities, they have price points that are about $150. This third business is going to be, they're going to be paying for access to equipment. And so the price point is going to be more like $40 or lower. So I guess my question is, do you think it would appeal to a different market, or am I going to be stepping on my toes too much because it's still within the fitness industry? Little context, I'm still working probably 60 hours per week in these other two businesses. I do have some opportunities to kind of scale up and coach less, but that's where I am right now. So what do I need to do to actually pull the trigger and say it's a good idea and I'm not going to be spreading myself too thin to open up this third business?
You have questions? America's #1 business coach has answers. It's your Broda from Minnesota. Here's another edition of Ask Clay Anything on the Thrive Time Business Coach Radio Show.
Yes, and Steve Currington is our guest. Sir, welcome on to the Thrive Time Show. How are you?
I'm amazing. Thanks for having me, Clay.
Can I ask you, what prompted you to want to stop by and visit the Man Cave Studios? What was prompting you?
Well, I was driving, making my visits around Broken Arrow to all the multitude of Shaw model homes, and I always drive by, and I saw your car, and I thought, I wonder if they're back there building that giant pool still. I haven't seen an update in a while.
And by the way, can you share with the listeners out there what you do and how you and I know each other?
Oh yeah. So I'm into residential home loans. I'm a mortgage banker. So when people want to buy a house, they call me. I do the financing. They find the house. I do the loan. That's how we do it. And we met. I don't know. I mean, I think we both kind of knew each other over the years. You knew my dad.
I think we knew of each other.
Yeah.
Your dad was part of the group that was auditing or looking at my file for the Entrepreneur of the Year for the City of Tulsa when I was the Young Entrepreneur of the Year for the City of Tulsa at the age of 20.
Right.
And Dennis Currington, your father, was looking at my finances and my numbers and kind of the verification team. He and a group of people were doing all that. So that's how I met Dennis.
Yep.
And then I was working with your direct competitor to help them dominate the Google search engine.
And I was always running ads on Google, and I was like, God, this other guy, how does he get up there?
I remember that. You remember that?
Yeah, I was like, I didn't know that you were helping him, but I was just like, ooh.
But then I ended up on the news one day.
Oh, that made me
explain that. What happened?
Well, I dropped the mic. Whoa, literally dropped the mic.
Drop the mic. Drop the mic, ladies and gentlemen.
Let me get this figured out. I think it was set up for Dr. Z, and I'm about 800 feet taller than him.
Yeah,
so.
no problem.
Yeah. So, from time to time, the news will run a story on finance or whatever. And in fact, Channel 6 interviewed me years ago about the new Good Faith Estimate that came out. So I think, there was a story that was on the news, and it was about the mortgage business. So I tuned in, and it was you. And I was watching it, and I was like, isn't that DJ Clay? Because you DJ'd our wedding. And I was like, that's DJ Clay. And I was like, is he doing mortgages now? Because you were in the suit, and you were talking about mortgages, but
oh yeah.
I know mortgages, so I'm not going to say that, you were misrepresenting anything, but it definitely wasn't.
Well, let me explain what happened. I got asked by a client to help them get to the top of the Google search engine results.
Right.
And I did it. I was tasked to help them grow their business, okay?
Right.
So one of the modalities, one of the methods, one of the systems I did in the marketing machine was to get them to the top of Google. The other, as I do right now, and if you're listening to this show right now, just Google Tulsa man buys 8 billboards for his wife. Tulsa man buys 8 billboards for his wife. And you'll see sort of my handiwork. By the way, Josh with Living Water Irrigation, great guy. And I believe he's been on now People Magazine this week, Fox News, Good Morning America, and 38 other media outlets just this week. So I was doing the media PR thing
Yep.
for this mortgage company. And the owner of the business bailed on the day of the interview.
Like the minute they were supposed to be there, you were the only one there, right?
Yeah, I was there. And I was like,
And you set the whole thing up, and you're like, well,
I'm like, and I had been doing all the press releases, and I knew about the first-time buyer's tax credit
yep,
more than everybody else because I'd practiced all the lines. I'd written all the PR pitches.
yep.
So they said, who's the member of your team that wants to talk about this? And I said, I am. They said, who are you? I said, I'm a mortgage expert.
There you go.
I didn't say that I am a mortgage banker.
Yeah,
I said mortgage expert.
right.
And they said, are you a banker? I said, no, it's too limiting on what I do. I'm an expert. True story.
I called DJ Connection. I swear, I called DJ Connection, and whoever answered, I said, "Is Clay Clark doing mortgages now?"
Right.
They're like, "Oh yeah, I think. How long? A couple months." And I'm like, "Oh, really? You're a mortgage expert now, Clay?" So I kind of was pissed at you, like silently, like I didn't say anything about it, but I was like, "Ooh, that Clay Clark, man. How did he get on the news? How did he do that? How did he get on the news as a mortgage expert?"
But now what's really exciting is you've actually gone on. You and I've worked together on this, and I feel like I've kind of your Sherpa. I show you what to do, and whenever you can't do it, I help you do it. But most of the time, I teach you the stuff, and you can do it. But there's sometimes coding or certain ad management or retargeting ads or there's a lot of technical stuff that we do for you.
Yeah.
But anyway, the graphic design, the photo, the video. But now we've worked together for how long?
Almost 4 years.
And now today you are when we first started working with you, you were not employed.
Right, correct.
And now you're driving a
little Lamborghini around.
because that was one of your goals.
Yep.
And you're wearing what kind of pants right now? Are these pants?
Well, no one's getting paid from this. I saw someone was wearing these kind of like slacks, but they're like they're not sweatpants, Clay, but they're almost like 4-way stretchy slacks. They're Lululemon, and I don't even know what Lululemon is. So I asked somebody, and they're like, "Oh yeah, they do I don't even know what they call them." So I just went in there and I was like, "You got some like slacks?" And they're like, "Yeah, here you go." So this is my winter wardrobe. So I do my TLC shirt that's green. I do my Lululemon 4-way stretch pants, and then my glow in the dark Yeezys. That's the move right now for the winter.
How much are those shoes?
They're a lot. They're I mean, you asked me that earlier, and I honestly, I'm kind of embarrassed to say how much I paid for them. That's the thing, is because I'm even more embarrassed to say how much I paid when I bought the second pair, because I was kind of playing around the second time trying to like get a better price, and then I ended up buying them for about $20 less. But they were like, I think $648 by the time they shipped them to me and everything.
Well, okay. So all I'm saying is you and I have worked together, and you've achieved a lot of success over these past almost 4 years. And a lot of success has occurred. And we have a listener out there who is kind of already doing really well, by the way. And I'm not going to mention the name of his company or where he's from, but he emailed in a question. And I'd like to read the question, and then we're going to break it down together. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, that's good.
Here we go. The question is, this gym owner, by the way, currently owns 2 gyms and has an opportunity to own a gym that's kind of a big box gym. And he's wanting to know whether he's ready to have a third business, and if it really would be a smart move to own 3 gyms in the area, or if it would hurt his current business. And so what I'm going to do, Steve, is I'm going to share what you're doing now on a weekly basis, and I'd like for you to sort of explain what makes it hard to do this. Because if our listener is doing these things, then it's a smart move to open a third gym.
Yeah.
But if we're not doing these 3 things yet, it's really not a smart move.
Right.
So I'm going to read off the things that you now do on a weekly basis that our client here, our listener, needs to do. And if the listener is doing these things, then yes, you should open a third gym. But if you're not doing these things, then you shouldn't open the third gym. So here's thing number 1. This is the thing number 1. And Steve, you're doing these things.
Right.
1 is he needs to have a group interview every week before he opens up his next thing.
Yep.
Do you agree?
100%.
Why?
That more like 1,000%.
Why?
Because sometimes, like today, you have a guy who is a real pain in the butt, comes in late 3 days a week, leaves early when he's not supposed to.
This just happened to you. Now this show's going to come out in December, so we're safe. No one can guess who it is. But
yeah. So just because you don't want to be in a position with an employee where they have like power over you, or you can't fire someone or get rid of someone or replace them because you don't have another option. So we constantly have new talent coming in. We have someone shadowing every week. We have opportunities to hire people every week, whether we need people or not. And if I find someone who's really, really good from that group interview, it will give me the reason to, at my convenience, boot that knucklehead.
Tell me if I'm correct, but last week for the group interview, I believe we had, as in you and I had, I believe we had like 4 dozen people almost at the group interview.
Right.
And if you wanted to hire a great person last week, you could have hired probably 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So we're never behind the 8 ball.
Correct.
Ever.
Yep.
And then, by the way, if you have talent and you don't have a place for them, add them to your hot list. We call it the A list.
Yep.
And just put them on a spreadsheet and say, that's a good guy. And if we have another opening, I'll reach out to him.
Right.
And you might say, well, what do I do if someone's a good fit and I don't have a spot?
You make a spot.
You make a spot by firing the C player.
Yes.
But either way, you have them shadow. You have the good candidates shadow you to see if they're a good fit. If they are a good fit and you don't have a spot, add them to the A list.
The other secret thing that happens that
Yep.
a lot of people don't realize when you're talking about a group interview, when you have people shadowing, is you have employees in the office that every single week see the people that are going to take their jobs. And so it ups the game.
It creates that impetus, that feeling of like that placebo effect of like,
I've got to do my job. I got to perform because. But when you have it's a ghost town and they know that you don't have anybody to replace them, they take advantage of you. They come in late when they want. They go home.
And you're a
early, they don't do
benevolent
their
guy.
job.
I'm not just saying that because you're here. You're a benevolent guy who really goes the extra mile to treat employees well. And you've been screwed
Yes, every time. by the
every
way.
time,
Every
repeatedly.
time. Yes, that's why we do the group interview because
Since
it's
I've
like,
been knowing you, ever since I can remember. Ever since
I've been popping my collar.
I've been popping my. Now, I've been knowing you though for a while. Well, for a while now.
Oh, you ain't playing.
So what had happened was
What happened
no,
was-
but I have been in fellowship with you for about 4 years,
Yep.
and I believe Casey is the only person who's been with you the entire time.
Correcto. She came in like right there in that first 5-6 months. But
And
yeah.
Forbes is saying that the average person isn't going to stay at a job for more than 2 years. So step 1, Mr. Listener, do the group interview every week. Do not open the third business until you have the group interview going every week. You need a pipeline of talent. Yes.
If you had a budget of I don't know, pick something you pay for in your business that's $400 a month, and you spend $100 a week on an ad on Indeed or whatever.
Yep.
It's worth the peace of mind
Oh, yeah.
to know that if someone doesn't come in tomorrow, I have 2 people leaving this week.
And it
don't have
doesn't,
that.
it doesn't matter.
I don't care.
It doesn't matter.
I have one guy that took a better job, and more power to him. He was actually a great employee, never late. He was great.
This is how
He's
a lot of let me tell you how a lot of entrepreneurs feel when they lose an employee all week, okay? Now I'm going to cue this up and you tell me if you agree. This is how a lot of entrepreneurs feel. And maybe you even felt this way back before the group interview. So a key employee comes up to you and says, "Hey, I need to Oh, let me hit the mute so it's not playing the loudspeaker. That's impressive." Okay. This employee comes in and says, "I just want you to know, I don't want to tell you this. It's like a breakup. But I'm gonna have to move on to other opportunities.
What's
but
funny?
You've meant the world to me." And then they go work for your competition.
Here's what's funny about it. Every single time, every single person does it exactly the same way. And here's how it goes.
Yeah, let me keep the music.
Are you gonna be back at the office today?
Can we
why?
talk?
Are you quitting?
Can we talk?
Well, I didn't want to tell you over the phone. Yeah, I have this other. And I'm like, every time I can call it. If whether I'm in the office or I'm out of the office, they're like, "Do you have a minute to talk?" Not if you're quitting. I don't.
Now this is how it works right now. If you go to Steve Currington's office today, and by the way, check him out, stevecurrington.com. This is kind of how it feels now whenever we have to let somebody go there. It feels kind of, let me get the right music. Let me see if I got the right music. It's like, oh, so well, what's going on? And you say, well, hey, boss, can we talk? And you go, nope. And they say, why? And you say, because I don't care. I don't care.
IDC.
I don't care. Hashtag, I don't care. Hey, by the way, go on Facebook and bitch about it because I don't care.
IDGAF.
I mean, seriously, right? Right?
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, seriously, now it's like, it doesn't matter.
Part of me is like annoyed to a certain extent whenever you have somebody that you've invested a lot of time and you've given them lots of opportunities.
You're still annoyed? I've got some coaching to do then. I got to do some
I'm
more
not saying, like-
I've got to do some more coaching.
You know what I mean? Like as a human, when
No.
you've invested time
I
in
don't.
someone.
I no longer feel those feelings.
Well, it's
I'm
not even feel feelings.
You
I
feel
just
the
wanna-
feelings more now about when my employees leave than I feel that feeling.
Oh, that's probably true.
When I had some employees leave recently, some long timers, Steve was like, "Oh, it just
like,
hurts
this-
me." But for me, I'm like, it's fine. It's fine.
But listen,
Hey, do you feel bad emotionally when you defecate?
No,
That's how I feel.
don't. Not unless
It's the same feeling.
someone's really close and they
It's the
happen
same-
to know,
it's the same
that I'm in the backyard. And
It's
they're
the
like, why is he
same
in the
feeling.
backyard?
I don't cry when I excrete things, Anyway,
But
so-
I got to tell you, I feel bad about burning down that guy's house. I mean, I thought after he
Get out of
quit,
now
after
so-
he quit,
So checkbox 1 for our listener, you need to make sure that you do the group interview every week and have an abundance of talent before you start your next thing. Second, you got to have that weekly sales training that is only worthwhile if you have call recording,
yep.
and if you own a gym, there's got to have the video recording. Steve, why do you want to have the call recording and the video recording, especially if you own a gym? Why would you want to see what the trainers are actually doing? Why would you want to have the call recording? Why can you absolutely not open a third location unless you are recording the calls, having video filmed of the training sessions, and having a weekly training session to break down the film? Why can you not open up another? This week for TLC, how many hours did you have to be in the office yourself? Now, you're doing a lot of work and stuff. I get it. But how many hours do you have to be in the office?
Like physically there.
Yeah.
I'm not. Any.
Okay. But
Like I stopped like hour 2 if I'm.
But back in the day,
I have a meeting?
But back
Oh,
in the day, you
I
used to have
lived
to be
there.
there all the time.
Yeah, I lived there for.
But now you have call recording
I've called
and video recording,
cameras
so you know what's happening.
all the time.
So the day you text a guy, you called a guy, you say, "Hey, guy, it's like 5:45, and
Yeah.
I noticed you're not here. What's going on?" He said, "Oh, I was told I could go home early." And upon further review, he wasn't told. But you can check the cameras and see he left early.
Yeah, exactly.
So again, Mr. Listener, you got to have the call recording and the video recording. You might say, "Well, what program should I use?" I recommend Nest.com for the cameras, Nest.com for the cameras. And for the audio, I recommend Clarity, Clarity.
That's right.
Clarity, Clarity. ClarityVoice.com. That's who I recommend for the call recording. That's who we use up at OxyFresh. That's who we use at Elephant in the Room. Use ClarityVoice.com. Now, Steve the Third, you got to have a set time every day.
Oh, wait a minute now. You can't jump ahead.
Oh, okay.
Hold on a
Oh.
minute on the cameras.
Okay, cameras.
You got to be able to see what those salespeople are saying.
Yeah.
You can't hire salespeople and put them in there to sell stuff.
And not watch what they're doing.
I don't know. I heard from a friend that owned a gym. One of his trainers
Yep.
might have been doing something inappropriate with some of the people he was training.
Oh, yeah, the sauna
So,
move.
Yeah, let's go. Hey, I'll
Just
give
for
you
the
a
listener
sauna
knows,
massage.
we had one person I worked with years ago who was years. She was a female personal trainer who worked for one of my clients. And any time that she would do the one-on-one evaluation, about, I'd say a third of the time to a quarter of the time, she would have the male potential clients follow her into the sauna. In like 45 minutes, they would come out later. 45 minutes later, they'd come out. 45
And they
minutes.
would book a lot of personal sessions.
They'd book a
after
lot of them. And you couldn't open, you could lock the door from the inside.
that. Yeah.
So for 45 minutes, they'd be in there discussing objections and trying to figure out the right package and figuring out the right, and then they would come out of the sauna.
Right.
They would come out of the sauna with a deal.
Yep.
They'd worked out a
Well,
deal.
they had a deal all right.
We couldn't figure out what the deal was.
So,
But
anyway,
for
sorry
somebody,
to interrupt.
No, but someone would pay
Yeah.
$150 a month for these. It was like $150 a month for a certain kind of training, but $600 for personal training.
Oh, yeah.
And so for the personal training, her clients would faithfully show up every morning, always on time. No, never really getting in shape,
Right.
but always being there.
A lot of them were, honestly, there were a lot of overweight guys.
And they would go into the sauna for the personal training,
Right.
and we caught that on the camera. True story. We didn't have cameras in the sauna.
No, not in the sauna.
No, but
But
seriously.
you got to have the cameras and the call recording so you can hear what people are saying and that you can hold them accountable and coach them and that kind of thing.
Now, the third you want to have is you want to have daily meta time, daily planning time to plan out your day. You want to print out your calendar every morning, print out your to-do list every morning. Steve, how has the act of doing that changed your life?
Oh, it's amazing, especially if people have said that I'm ADD. I believe this ADD thing is just like hey, deal with it. You
I
were
agree.
born.
I agree.
It's way overrated. Let's not drug
People tell me I'm OCD.
Oh,
You're OCD. You just focus on things too long. They say that you don't focus on things enough. We're called humans.
Just quit being a weak, you
Yeah.
know what, and do. So, yeah, once you start keeping a to-do list and going by your calendar, it just gives you peace. It's kind of like the group interview. You know that it's taken care of, and you're not having those 11 p.m. moments where you're like, oh, crap, I forgot to do this. Or you
But
just
every
aren't.
single day, you print out your to-do list.
Mm-hmm.
You print out your calendar every single day.
Yep.
And then you go do it.
Yeah, and we do it at our office. We start with we learned this from Clay. Start with a digital calendar or digital to-do list that we do on Google Sheets, and then we change the dates in the tasks, and we print it every day. And that way, everybody on the team has a to-do list. And this morning, for example, I said, Casey, go grab so-and-so and bring his to-do list, and I want you to read it out loud.
Now let's talk about dysfunction for a second.
Yeah.
You were in a meeting for another company we don't even know. I have no idea who the company is. You were just telling me, because you travel out to Colorado and Oklahoma, you're all over the place.
Yep.
But you were at an undisclosed company. And the employees, you were talking about how you were in the meeting with the employees the entire day. They were just receiving text messages, group messages. No one's paying attention.
Right.
Why can't you have your to-do list on your phone app?
Yeah, because you'll never see it. And plus, you get desensitized to the notifications. So you have to have it in your hand so that you can physically look down and see
cross
it.
that baby off.
Yeah, because I'm like a lot of people. I roll all day with my phone on silent. My phone is on silent. I'm not carrying my phone to get things done. I do reference things that are on my phone, and I look at my calendar sometimes, but I don't have to if I have it printed out and I have my to-do list and my clipboard and everything in one place.
Now, the final thing you have to have, there's a lot of things you have to have in place, and your coach will give you a bulletproof checklist that I've made. It's taken me years to make this, and I would encourage you to ask for that, and they'll go through that with you, and you can find there's certain holes or chinks in your armor, but the big four. The final area you want to make sure you have nailed down is you want to have a weekly time to look at your finances at the same time and place every week. Now, Steve, why does my wife sit down and look at the finances every single week?
Because people steal from their employers, and vendors steal, and they try to invoice you for things that they shouldn't. And then a lot of people look at QuickBooks and they think that's their bank account balance, and it's not. So you got to look at your bank, and you got to.
And it takes my wife hours to do it. Hours.
Make sure people aren't, sticking it to you. And honestly, sometimes things are just errors that are made.
So like last week, we had somebody who's a vendor of ours that processes and helps with certain aspects of our company, and they moved the decimal over accidentally.
Yeah.
And so we literally paid out thousands for certain things that we should have paid out hundreds for. And my wife got it.
Right.
But we paid it out first. We got it back. But so I'm just saying.
But that could go on for months.
It could, and for most business owners, it does. And they can't figure. I don't know why we're not making any money. There's a hole in the wagon. I'm putting the grain on the wagon, but it seems like when I get the wagon to the destination, there's no grain.
It's weird. I looked at
hole in the wagon.
And it says I have $50,000.
QuickBooks says we have grain on the wagon.
My bank account.
says
it's overdrawn.
I'm looking on the. Perhaps I should look at the wagon.
I thought
the hole in the wagon is where the grain is coming out.
Clay, I still have a whole bunch of checks in this checkbook. There's no way the money can be gone.
So let's review the moves. 1, you have to have the group interview in place. 2, you have to have call recording and video recording in place for your salespeople, for your sales team. 3, you've got to have the daily meta planning, daily meta time, daily planning. Meta coming from the Greek word meaning above. You have to have daily planning time factored into your schedule. And the 4th, you have to have a weekly planning session, a weekly time set aside, the set time in place every week, the same time in place every week to look at your finances, the same time in place every week to do the group interview, the same time in place every week to do your sales training. All of that has to happen every single week. And if you do it, you can grow up to be a Steve Carrington, where you can wear Yeezys and have yoga pants.
That's right.
And have custom shirts.
That's right.
And in the last 45 days, correct me if I'm wrong, you've been to London.
Oh, yeah, we went to Paris.
Paris,
Paris.
South Africa. California.
I will be in Cali soon.
Where have you gone in the last 4 months?
I've gone to Florida a couple times, Georgia, South Africa.
You like traveling?
Yeah, only for leisure.
Do you like self-actualizing? Do you like doing what you want to do?
Yeah.
Do you prefer to not do what you want to do?
No.
You like doing what you this just in. You want to do what you want to do. You like doing what you want to do, and you have to exchange money for the goods and services that you want, Steve. And therefore, you do these 4 steps. So if you're out there listening today, this show, this podcast is designed to help you, not to harm you. If anything I've said that doesn't make sense, please ask your coach, and I'll be happy to send you another podcast. But congratulations on having 2 successful gyms. Very few people do that. And without any further ado, Steve, we'd like to end each and every show with a boom. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Boom! That was like Run DMC.
I don't know